Hello, and welcome to a short lesson on the four main causes of World War I. If you would like a guided note sheet to go with this lesson or ideas on how to create a foldable, you may head to Teachers Pay Teachers website and search for me, Tina Brunson. You'll find my store and a worksheet handout that will go along with this lesson. If not, let's go ahead and get started. World War I is also known as the Great War, which took place in Europe, as you can see in the map here, from the years 1914 to 1918. World War I is also known as the first modern war, and the reason for that is new technology was introduced that made it deadlier than ever, such as new machine guns, submarines, tanks, and gases. That will be another lesson, though. Our main objective today is to understand the main causes of how this Great War started. How we're going to know the four main causes are actually with the letters that spell main: M, A, I, and N. Each of these letters stand for four important words. The words are militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. We're going to look at all four of these words a little bit more in depth and give you the definition so that you understand how these helped start World War I. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, militarism. The definition of militarism is the policy of building up or creating a large military. And of course, your goal or objective is to have more and better weapons than everyone else. Now, this can be really dangerous when you have many countries close together, like we do in Europe, who have a militaristic point of view or are taking part in militarism. And it's very threatening to the countries around them. So imagine your neighbor is building a nuclear weapon or is building and creating a strong army. You're fearful of what they might do. So therefore you do the same as them, and your neighbor does the same as you, and their neighbor does the same as them, and next thing you know, you have many countries on the verge of war who have a military ready to go and weapons ready to go. So it's a very, very scary thing. Next up, we have alliances. The definition of alliances is an agreement between two or more countries to help each other out and defend each other when necessary. Now, this always seems really odd. How can alliances, which is very much like a friendship, how could that possibly lead to war? People are helping each other out, right? Well, actually, that's kind of where you're wrong. Even though the agreement between two or more countries is if they're ever in need, they will help each other, it can actually have a huge domino effect and lead to a full-blown war. Let's take, for example, two people are in a fight. Now, rather than leaving the fight just between themselves, what they do is they invite their friends to join the fight as well, to protect them, because they're allies, they're friends. And their friends bring more friends, and their friends bring more friends. And next thing you know, a fight that was just originally between two people has now become a bigger battle. And that is the exact same thing that happened in World War I. Something that began with just two countries became a much bigger deal as alliances brought more of their allies into the war. Okay, next up, imperialism. The definition of imperialism is a country attempts to extend its power and influence over other countries, sometimes through diplomacy, but mostly through military force. Having an imperialistic attitude means that you want to take over more land that is not yours. You want to extend your power and take over land of others. These two political cartoons, I think, show a really great view of what imperialism is. To the left, you have a cartoon image of England overextending its power into other countries, which you can see their labels here: Egypt, India, Canada, and so forth, which England still has, to some extent, some influence and power over these countries. To the right, you see the United States with a symbol of an eagle overreaching into the islands here. And the caption says 10,000 miles from tip to tip, kind of showing the imperialistic attitude of America in the year 1898 over other countries and over other lands. So obviously imperialism, pretty self-explanatory in how that could have led to World War I, where the other countries were attempting to extend their power to their nearby neighbors. And finally, we have the word nationalism. The definition of nationalism is pride in one's country. Well, pride in one's country is an amazing thing, right? We celebrate the 4th of July, wear red, white, and blue. But nationalism, when it's extreme nationalism, is actually dangerous. Extreme nationalism is when you believe that you're better than other countries and or other people, and you are willing to defend your country. A reason that extreme nationalism can be so bad is it gives the citizens of a country perspective that they're better than others, a sort of us versus them mentality where they lose empathy for others and think that it might be God's will for their country or their people to succeed and to not care about others. Now, this is a really, really awful perspective, and this perspective is still in place in countries, especially with countries that have dictators as leaders who can control the media and overextend the propaganda to make the people overly nationalistic. So that pretty much sums up MAIN, militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. Let's go back to the map of Europe that we were looking at before. You can see the different colors show you the different powers. Now, look at how close these countries are together. Let's review the mentalities and how this could have led to war. So with militarism, a country saying, I have more and better weapons than you. One country saying to another country, hey, let's be in a secret alliance and help each other out. And all of these countries have alliances. Imperialism, if there's a country in this mix that says, I want to take over the world, or at least other countries around me. And finally, if another country says, my country is better than yours, or my people are better than yours. So imagine these four different perspectives mixed into a continent with all of these different countries. You can imagine how it could easily lead to a war. Tensions were really high in the late 1800s and early 1900s in Europe. With the mix of militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism, all that was really needed was one final spark that would ignite Europe into a war. That one spark is actually this guy, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary. His assassination was the spark that was needed to create World War I. Well, that concludes our lesson on the four main causes of World War I. We'll take a look at Franz Ferdinand and the assassination in another lesson. However, please remember to go to my Teachers Pay Teachers store and download the free guided note sheet to answer the questions in here. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.